prophesized it, but it's the same stuff that's going on now that went on with him, went on with Marvin Gaye. You know what I mean? That activism and just, just talking about our rights and talking about us as a people and just feeding us positivity and goodness and education. So, all right, like I said before I played I wanted to ask you the infamous question first. I don't know if I asked, I don't think I did, but tell the people where you're from and tell them when you fell in love with hip hop. Do you remember the place, the time, the age?
I would have to say I was exposed to hip hop, as I mentioned, around, I believe, maybe 7 or 8, exposed to the music, but probably at 11 or 12, I fell in love with hip hop. And it's probably not a full-blown appropriate story, but I went to the Bad Boy tour that they had in Baltimore, Maryland, which is where I'm from, born and raised. And Bad Boy had a tour that they had here. And I think just last year they did the 20th anniversary. So my sister got tickets to the tour, and she's about 7 years older than me or so. And she took me to the concert with her. And I was shocked. My mom let me go. And the concert was definitely not age appropriate because of the lyrics, but the performances and the beat and the overall music and seeing, Little Kim and seeing Biggie and seeing P. Diddy and the LOX, seeing all these individuals, especially of color, sort of put on a concert and, engage the crowd with different kinds of music. And I know that Little Kim is known to be, for a lot of people,
a little raunchy.
Yeah. And, and very sexual. But she commanded a stage in a way that, for me, I hadn't really seen done outside of television or movies in a different kind of way. And so outside of the sexual domination side, it was just her voice and her command and her presence that made everybody stop what they were doing, listen to her, and rock with her. And so at that moment, it made me want to research. And, I had already known about MC Lyte and Queen Latifah and Monie Love, the songs that she played earlier, Ladies First. I had knew about the music, and it just made me, want to not just listen to the music, but figure out how I can end up part of the culture and contributing to it as a female. And so, that it ended up being in the form of writing and education, but it definitely started, with a bunch of women that represented different aspects of hip-hop culture, not just one particular instance. So I would say that's probably where I was when I fell in love with it. But like I said, the venue was definitely not appropriate for a 12-year-old, 11 or 12-year-old. But, I came back home and I just was excited. And I went to school and told everybody, like, oh my gosh, this was like the best concert. It's the only concert I had went to at the time, but that was like the best one ever. So,
well, I think
that's my story.
I think Puffy, P. Diddy, Sean Combs, whatever you want to call, I think he would be gloating. If he was listening to this, I think he would be like, yeah, that's when she fell in love with hip hop. Because he seems, slightly arrogant in a good way, so I think he would be, let me see if I can get this to him. He would be excited about that and all the things that you're doing surrounding hip hop. So when you listen to... Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying absolutely. Yeah. And when you look at what he was able to do with his record label and expand it business-wise, that's what I mean. It's so much more than just who was on the stage. It's what they were able to do beyond it, clothing lines and everything else. So.
Absolutely, because when hip-hop made it completely big, where it was mainstream and it was not pop music, but popular music, even though that is short, some of them don't want to be called pop, but certain songs that artists have, it crosses genders, it crosses genres, it crosses cultures. When it's good music and it has a good beat and a good message, you can have the smallest kid listening to it, or you can have an older, person listening to it. And hip hop does have that effect. And then some of the business mind that some of these men and women have is ridiculous. I mean, even going back to Kid and Play, like starting the clothing line, people don't realize that Play was like one of the first ones that started, you know, the Salt and Pepper famous jackets. He designed those.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he designed those, and a lot of people they don't know that, or they forget about that. So just, you know, in the endorsements and the money and the management, like if back in the day, possibly they were people were getting over with the contracts, and, you know, anybody that watches TV One's Unsung knows what time it is. Everybody, everybody, right. Right. Everybody got. But a lot of these rappers, even today, you know, I diss and dog some of today's rappers, but a lot of them are very smart with their money. They're very strategic about their money and building their brands. And I can do nothing but, you know, respect that. And people, you know, some of the music, sometimes I'm like, I feel old when I'm gonna do a meme. I feel old when I'm like, what did he say? What did he say now? And I was joking with Dr. T while the song was playing. I was like, now who is that? Because I'll ask my daughter now, and I'm like, dang, if I don't sound like my mother talking about who is that? But you know what I think it is though, Dr. T? It's the same song with slightly a different beat. It's like 5 songs on the radio that sound almost identical. So I start mixing them up. Like I won't say nobody. A lot of people are not original. And that's the thing. A lot of people are not original with their message. They're really not trying to motivate. They're trying to rock the party, which is fine. I'm here for that. But to me, it's like if you have a voice, if you have the mic, and you know that people are listening, then I think at some point you have to say something positive. Even like when I look at, you know, Big Sean and Drake, you know, Way Up High, I Feel Blessed. Okay, maybe some of the other songs like I Ain't With You, you know that song, which can fit in many places. I'm just going to say it could be appropriate for certain situations, but then at least they have, right? But at least it's I ain't messing with you, but it's not saying messing with, that's all I'm saying. But sometimes you do feel like that, so I get it, it's appropriate. But then to have a balance to say Way Up High, I Feel Blessed. You know what I mean? And knowing where your blessings come from and all of that. And like J. Cole, I don't have time to play it, but Crooked Smile, like that's a 2013 song. And Crooked Smile, you know what that's about. For those who don't know, it's just positive and it's uplifting for young girls to hear. So it's a lot of people out there, and of course Common, and the song from Nas, although it was in 2003, it's still some positivity out there. You know, some people out there, I'm just gonna be honest, they're talking loud and they ain't saying nothing. You know, it's like, you know, will you be here next year?
Yeah, it's different trends that have evolved, and you know, one day on my board and different things like that. But I will take a quote from sort of Jay-Z when he had his issue with Harry Belafonte, and he explained to him, you know, in his song Nickel and Dime, and this is also in the book. I actually talk about this debate between the two generations and whether it was disrespectful for Jay-Z to sort of handle Harry Belafonte, Mr. Harry Belafonte, lyrically like he did. But in short, Jay-Z basically said, you know, it's all about growth. Can you allow me to grow? And so one of the things that's sometimes unfortunate is we have to remember that individuals who are being successful have a lot of different responsibilities.
Absolutely.
And although we would like them to say and use their platforms in a better way, all of those things sometimes come with maturity and age and wisdom. And that's not something that just comes with you turning another, you know, age. And these are multimillionaires and, you know, thousandaires who literally went from nothing to something overnight.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, as much as I can sit back and
first
go back,
generation,
they would use that, you know, a little better. I can kind of understand, and I would hope that when I'm in a position one day to, you know, not let what I have financially feel like that is more important than, my words, or try to figure out a balance between the two.
Absolutely.
It's definitely easier said than done.
Absolutely. And that was an excellent point. Because it's too much is given, much is required. But some of these guys in the typical rapper, they're first generation wealthy. That's first generation money. So, and I totally agree with that. You have to give someone a chance to grow and to evolve, because as human beings, whether we're rappers or doctors, you still need that room to grow. The only difference with someone else that's growing, they may not be in the limelight. Their message may not be out there right in front of you. So I think, and even, I talked about Tupac earlier, even with Tupac, we were the same age, 46. So when I think about Tupac, and I think about our birthdays actually are a day apart too, which is
wow.
Weird. Yes.
Right. You are Tupac, right? The female version.
Exactly. It's like right there. When I think about him, even back in the day, Brenda's Got a Baby. That song, if you listen to that song lyrically, he's reporting what's happening. You listen, everybody knows Dear Mama. You talk about that in your class, but just the messages. And I think even with him, his evolution would have been there, because with growth comes knowledge, it comes wisdom, it comes restraint, it comes with, let me see how I can say this that doesn't offend or affect someone in a negative light. You know what I mean? And I think it's all about just learning and growing. But some of these young cats, they've been doing it since they were, teenagers, professionally. And when you make more money than your parents and you're taking care of your parents, it's hard to be parented, because they're like, hey, he's saying this, he's talking about all of this negative stuff in this music, but he's paying my mortgage. He bought mama a new house. He bought, grandpa a new hip, whatever it is.
Right.
It is.
That's all grandpa did.
Right. He got a hip in the bins. There you go. Right. And I laugh because I was talking about, shout out to my father that's listening. He every time he hears a young, and I was telling Dr. T this off air, every time he hears a young rapper's name, he'll send it through text to my daughters and I. And we're like, how do you know that person? And I still don't know, but I guess that's a way to kind of keep him in the mix in a sense. That's why I was like, you got to listen to this show, because some of these rappers, I barely know who they are. But if you tell me the song, then I try to stay relevant and current to what's going on, because, I like to be the young mom.
Right. Shout out to your pops for staying in the culture. I appreciate it. He just staying there, and any name he touch you, right, hit him back. And if you can help, go ahead and forward it to me. I'll let him in. Right.
And let him know, because, you got to stay relevant. You got to stay, like the old people say, in the know. You got to know what's going on. I was talking about Brown Sugar. We're talking about, the movie Brown Sugar. We're talking about the history of hip hop and all of that. And there's so many lines in that movie. Like, if you love hip hop, or if you, were from the beginning or learning about it or want to know, I'm not promoting it. People say I look like Sanaa Lathan a little bit, but, that's not why. I'm telling y'all to listen. Right. Girl, it's so funny. When my daughter was little and she would see that movie, she would go to the TV and think it was me. With that. I think that was Best Man. I think that was. But one of my favorite lyrics, or I guess scenes or script, whatever you want to call it, in that movie is when he says that you are a tight beat over a perfect verse. I was like, that's saying a lot. What's that line mean? Right, like you are a tight beat over a perfect lyric, meaning like, the older folks say you are the bee's knees. Like you are the bomb. That's saying a lot. And some people might be like, well, that's kind of, whoa. But every time I hear that, I was like, daggone, that means he's really feeling her. What you think about that movie?
One of the ones, that's a classic line.
Right. What do you think about that movie?